god, welcome back. So for today's video we are going to be reading my July TBR. We're obviously not going to be reading my whole July TBR, but I feel like we need to make a dent in it. It's actually currently the 21st of July, so we have 10 days left of July. So I'm hoping we can get at least 3 of these books knocked off. I have already read one of them, but I'll quickly go through each book if you've not watched my July TBR video. So first up we have the Jasad Crown, then we have the Someday Garden, then we have Retreat, Tuesdays with Morrie, City of Girls, and Where the Crawdads Sing. So I've actually already read the Someday Garden. I can't remember what video this was. I think it was... no, I can't remember what video it was. It's in a reading vlog if you're interested. Anyway, we've read 1 out of the 6. So we've got 5 to go, but I have already started the first one, and that is the Jasad Crown. I'm currently about 25% in. I'm not going to go too much into this one because you're about to see me actually talk about it. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. So I thought I'd quickly update on the Jasad Crown because I am now really close, really close to 50% through this book. I feel like it's a really weird one because it feels like I have been reading, what page are we on? We're on page 254, nope, 45. And it feels like I have read 245 pages, but it also feels like I haven't because I'm really enjoying it, but I will say it's definitely a slower pace. I feel like plot wise and action wise not much has happened, but I feel like a lot has been revealed, and to be honest I've just been loving being back in this world. So even though I feel like it's definitely a little bit slower of a start, I'm still having a really good time. I will say I think now that we're like nearing 50% through this book, things do need to pick up, things do need to happen. Without saying too much, I need the characters to interact because we get 4 point of views in this book and I need them to intersect a little bit more because currently it's been like everyone everywhere, different point of views doing different things, and I've loved that. I've loved being in each of the characters' point of view, but yeah, I want them back together. I want them to be just reunited to a degree, without saying too much. So far I'm enjoying this one. Again, I don't want to say too much, but I'm loving being just back in a fantasy world with magic and just the whole fantasy vibe. But I will say I've not been reading as much as I normally would. I feel like I flew through I flew through the first probably like 200, like 150, 200 pages, and then I've kind of been like only reading like 2-3 chapters a day. Anyway, I'm hoping to hopefully finish this by the end of the week, and I'll keep you guys updated. So I feel like I really haven't updated on the Jasad Crown at all, so I really apologise for that because I actually finished this book earlier today. I feel like I didn't really update, one because it took me a week to finish this book, it's very long, and also because I've just been quite busy. I ended up audiobooking from like 50% onwards because that was just a much quicker way for me to get through it, and I feel like it's difficult to update with this one because obviously it's the second book in a series. But rating wise, I did decide to rate this a 3.75. I really thought this would potentially be a 4 or a 5. And it's a really difficult one because part of me wants to rate it a 4, but then I need to remember that there were parts where I was bored. I feel like we could have had probably like 100 pages shorter, to be honest, because we did drag through a lot of scenes and a lot of stuff that was happening quite a bit, and it really kind of took me out the story. I will also say I do think maybe audiobooking when I did wasn't the best idea because it's currently Monday. Yesterday I ended up audiobooking it completely pretty much, apart from like the very end, and I was sorting out my wardrobe, clearing out loads of stuff, doing like housework bits, so I was listening, but there's probably definitely things I may have missed. Although I will say I've been looking online and there are a lot of plot points that kind of just don't get a conclusion. I don't want to say what they are because obviously it would ruin the whole thing, but like there's certain things that are very big question marks for me, or just like curiosities, I guess. I will say the ending was really good and I did enjoy it. I did feel like it's a really annoying one because I feel like the book was slightly too long. As I said, things dragged out. I feel like things could have been a bit quicker, but the ending felt like it was such an abrupt end. Like I wish we had more. If you've read this book, you know what I mean. I feel like I'm kind of talking in code right now, but I feel like the ending just ends so abrupt and on this major point, and it's like I wish we would have got just one more chapter. Just one more chapter would have been great, and we could have cut out a good 100 pages to hope potentially have had that, or even just like a bit more of an epilogue. That would have been delightful. So the book I've decided to go with next is Tuesdays with Morrie, because this one's very short and I feel like I could probably get this done in like a day or two, and this is also what I'm just really intrigued about. So I'll read you the back in case you're unaware of what this one is about. It says, maybe it was a grandparent, a teacher or a colleague, someone older, patient and wise who understood you when you were young and impassioned, helped you to see the world as a more profound place and gave you sound advice to guide your way through it. For Mitch Albom, it was Morrie Schwartz, the college professor who had taught him nearly 20 years before. Perhaps like Mitch, you lost track of this mentor as the years passed, the insights faded and the world seemed colder. Wouldn't you like to see that person again? Ask the bigger questions that still haunt you and receive wisdom for your busy life the way you once did when you were younger. Mitch Albom got that second chance rediscovering Morrie in the last months of the older man's life. Their rekindled relationship turned into one final class, lessons in how to live. Tuesdays with Morrie is a magical chronicle of their time together. So I feel like this sounds so up my street because it's kind of like, what's the right way to word this? I think this would be classed as a biography, I think, because obviously we're talking about Morrie's life lessons, and I just love a book that makes you think. I also love the older generation. This obviously is probably not a unique thing, but I have just such a soft spot for older people. I feel so drawn to them. I don't know how to explain it, but I just love speaking with older people. I love hearing their stories. I love hearing their lessons. I love just anything I can learn or get from older people, and just hearing anything they have to say. Like I feel like it's just an admiring thing maybe. Like they obviously have lived so much more of their life, and I find that really interesting. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I just feel this massive draw, and I feel like I could sit and speak with older people for hours because I just find it so interesting, and I also find it so heartwarming. And yeah, so long story short, I feel like this is going to be the one I love. Okay, enough rambling. We are going to be reading Tuesdays with Morrie next. Update on Tuesdays with Morrie. I don't know if I've actually updated about this much. I feel like I've not done a very good job of updating, which I feel like is a sentence I repeat a lot. But yeah, obviously this was quite short, and I feel like it's a hard one to speak on because it obviously is a biography. So it's like it's Mitch basically visiting Morrie every Tuesday up until he passes away. This is a very emotional story. I find myself tearing up in a lot of places. I feel like I have such a soft spot in my heart for Morrie. I love this book. I feel like this is a book that everyone should read once in their life. And it's just got so many beautiful life lessons. And it basically just comes down to like gratitude and realising what you've got in life, and kind of also shining a light on the fact that a lot of the things people focus on and think are important part, like the biggest things in life, really aren't. And yeah, I just think everyone should read this because I just feel like you're going to always learn something new. I feel like it's one that I would definitely probably reread. I highly recommend this. I don't want to say too much because firstly it really is just him seeing seeing Morrie every Tuesday after he finds out that he's diagnosed with ALS, and that process, also the way they speak about ALS and like the journey that Morrie goes through, but the way he's able to keep such a positive attitude, and there's obviously moments where he's like, yeah, of course I grieve for my old self, and I'll wake up in the first 5 minutes when I wake up I'll be crying, and I do think like, this is horrible, I can't believe I'm going through this, but I also don't make that my day, and I also have such a conscious effort to like see people and help people and make sure everyone is aware that I've had such an incredible life, and this chapter doesn't define everything. And I don't know, it was just so beautifully written, and Morrie's story was incredible. I feel like I don't like to rate biographies. I would probably just do no rating, but honestly I would say this is a 5-star, because I just feel like it is one of those books that everyone needs to read, as I've said like 3 times now, and I think it's beautiful, and it really makes you appreciate the little things in life. I actually decided, I think I'm going to go with Where the Crawdads Sing, because obviously this one is just like, I don't know whether a cult classic is the right term for this, but I feel like everyone and their mum has read this, everyone raves about it. I don't know if I mentioned this in this video, but I actually do think I know the twist in this, because I was watching a movie and I'm pretty sure someone said something and they ruined it, but I'm not going to repeat it, and I'm trying not to think about it, because I'm hoping that whatever I heard is incorrect, or that it won't ruin my experience with this story. But if you're unsure of what it's about, it says, for years rumours of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town on the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive and intelligent, she has survived for years alone in the marsh that she calls home, finding friends in the gulls and lessons in the sand. Then the time comes when she yearns to be loved. When 2 young men from town become intrigued by her wild beauty, Kaya opens herself to a new life until the unthinkable happens. So I'm really intrigued. This is the next and last book we're going to read for this video, and hopefully it's one that I really enjoy. So I feel like I haven't really updated much on Where the Crawdads Sing. I actually was going to update yesterday, but then my camera died, and I also was in London all day. But I did manage to read a fair bit of this book. We're now just over 50%. I've been primarily reading it on my Kindle though, just for ease, to be honest. I got it on my Kindle because I was going into London, and I was like, it's much easier to take a Kindle on the train, especially on my lunch break. Like, to eat and read, you can't, I feel like it's difficult with a paperback, but with a Kindle you can kind of like tap. Anyway, updates so far. I feel like, what have I said so far about this book? I don't know if I've said much, to be honest, but the start was definitely a bit slow. Like, it took me a good, I'd say 20% to actually really get into the book and kind of care and feel connected to Kaya, but I'm actually really loving this, guys, now that I'm actually into it. And I think I said, but like, I'm pretty sure I know the big twist in this book because it was spoiled to me, but even though I have that in the back of my mind, I'm still really enjoying this. Like, I really want to watch the film because I found out it has Daisy, is it Edgar in it? The girl from Normal People, and I love her as an actress, so I'm really, really excited to watch it because I didn't realise she is the main character. She obviously plays Kaya in the film, so I will immediately be watching that, hopefully tomorrow, because I do plan to try and finish this tomorrow if I can, because it is the 31st of July, so obviously I'll be finishing on the 1st of August, but I feel like that's pretty good in terms of trying to get the majority of my July TBR read. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving seeing her as an adult because I don't know if I mentioned, but at the start I think you're introduced to her when she's about 6 or 7 years old, and you get her childhood and her kind of backstory, and then part 2, I think she's like 19, and it's really interesting seeing, like, hearing about her childhood and then seeing how she is now as a 19-year-old girl figuring out life, going through things. But I will say, I was about 25% through this book, and then I was reading it on the train home, and it all still like kind of made sense, but I was like, wow, we've had a massive time jump. Like, I feel like I don't know, I feel like we've really time hopped because we do get a lot of backstory in part 1 of the book. But I was like, oh, I guess we're just, you know, now we're getting into the thick of it, okay. And then I saw 2 hours left in book and I thought, that's weird. I literally had 5 hours left in the book earlier. Have I flown through this in the last 30 minutes? Like, how does that happen? Anyway, I then looked at the percentage. I was 65% in. So I have read 3 chapters at 65% without realising. And then I was like, oh, it all makes sense now. So luckily I didn't get any massive spoilers. I just know one snippet, which doesn't really spoil much, to be honest. So it hasn't changed much for me. Luckily, imagine if I'd gone into like the thick of all of the twists and stuff. I feel like that would have been so annoying. So yeah, I did go back because then part of me, this is when it was slow, like the first 25%, as I said, wasn't really gripping me as much. So then that part of me was like, do I just skip this bit because I've not missed any key things and now she's an adult and like things seem to be picking up? But then I thought, no, you're really not going to have a good experience or review of this book. And I'm really glad I went back because, as I said, I'm thoroughly enjoying it now. And I really love Kaya. Like, I feel like her relationship with Tate and her relationship with Chase, seeing these 2 different dynamics and the way she is and how vulnerable she can be, but also how protective she is over herself, and just how emotional she is without really portraying that to the full extent. And I feel like you can really connect with her. Like, she goes through so many different emotions. She has massive abandonment issues, and it's like palpable. Like, you can really feel it. And when something happens that you know is going to stir up past trauma for her, or she's treated a certain way because of being the Marsh girl, it really makes you just feel so heartbroken and like angry for her. And I feel like that obviously is like the writer's done an amazing job, because if it wasn't good writing, you probably wouldn't care. So hopefully that made a bit of sense. I'm really intrigued to see what's going to happen, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So, as you probably would have seen, I have now finished Where the Crawdads Sing. I think sorry, my throat is so sore. One sec. I just finished Where the Crawdads Sing, and I'm actually going to definitely go and watch the movie tonight. So I'm really excited to now watch the movie and see how it all like transferred into the movie. But I really enjoyed this one. I think I said it definitely was a bit slower at the start, but then I really got hooked into it, and all I wanted to do was finish the book. I think I mentioned that I had the kind of like big twist spoiled for me, annoyingly, through a TV show. Unfortunately, the way this book ended was how I thought, but there was one other thing that did throw me off, so I really loved that. And to be honest, even though I knew how this ended, I still had a really good time. I was really worried that knowing that ending would ruin my whole experience. It didn't ruin my whole experience. I feel like I would have had a much more "this is insane" reaction had I not known. But nonetheless, I still had a really good time, so I decided to rate this one 4 stars. I feel like just because it was a bit slow at the start and the way the book concluded, I can't say what scenes I wish we had because it would ruin the plot if you've seen it, and as someone that had it spoiled, I'm not about to do that. But had we had this one scene that I really wished was included, I feel like it would have potentially been like a 4.5, but nonetheless, I had a really good time. I understand why everyone raves about this book. I'm so excited to watch the film tonight. I think I'm going to do like a little TikTok where I do like, I filmed like the end of the book for TikTok as well, so I think I'm going to do like a book to movie little video. It's probably already out. Not that you may not want to see it, but it'd be on my YouTube shorts, or my TikTok if you're interested. Anyway, that is the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I feel like I potentially didn't get as much footage on this one as I'd have liked, but we managed to read another 3 books off my July TBR, and it's currently the 1st of August, so I did 4 out of 6 books for the month of July, which for me, that's very good. And I want to try keep this going, so I'm going to try read my August TBR. I don't think I'm going to do like an August TBR video like I've done for this month, but I'm definitely going to try and incorporate some of the books on that in future reading vlogs. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, all of that stuff, and hopefully I will see you again in the next one.